Hello, this is Britt Caswell with another example video. In today's video, I'm covering example 1 from lesson 6-1 in the SavvasRealize Algebra 1 textbook. This example is to write radicals using what are called rational exponents. Okay, when we talk about rational exponents, what we're saying is that we are looking for, just trying to figure out why my mouse is being weird. We are looking for fractions. Alright, so we are writing exponents as fractions. Now when we go to do that, there's a little bit of language that we need. Alright, so here is our exponent written as a rational exponent. And so what we could do is we could actually write this as a root. Alright, now notice the top of the fraction is the power here inside of the radical. Here's our radical symbol as always. And the number that's here is called the index, okay, that letter B. The index is the bottom of the fraction, okay? And then the letter X there, the base of the exponent, is what's called our radicand, right? It's the number being rooted and raised to a power. So the first question here, it says, what does 3 to the 1/2 equal? So if I'm following this pattern, okay, I have my radical symbol, and the bottom of the fraction turns into my index. So the bottom of the fraction is a 2 here. Alright, my base becomes the radicand, so my base here is a 3. And then the number on top of the fraction becomes my exponent. Now let's talk about what parts of this are necessary to show and which parts aren't. Okay, so 3 to the first power is just a 3. Okay, so you don't need to show when there's a first power in there. Okay, it's just the number. Okay, so I'm going to put that as a little note here. Any number with exponent 1, don't write the exponent. Okay, now the other thing is this index. Okay, now when we're dealing with radicals and we have an index of 2, we don't normally write an index of 2 on there. We just assume that it's a 2. Alright, so don't write index 2. So 3 to the 1/2 is simply the square root of 3. Now what's interesting about this, okay, is the way that we describe it. So when we talk about the square root of 3, what we're saying is that there's some number that's raised to the second power. I'll write this in red. So there's some number raised to the second power that equals that index. We aren't quite sure what it is, but that's essentially what the square root of 3 means. Alrighty, so now let's try it again, but now with 2 to the 1/3. Do it in green. Oops, do it in green this time. So we'll have our radical symbol. This base becomes my radicand. The number on top of the fraction becomes the exponent. And the number on the bottom of the fraction becomes the index. And remember, if you have a number raised to the first power, you don't want to write that 1 on there. It'll just look like this. So this is called the cube root of 3. Or I'm sorry, cube root of 2. And so what is that actually saying to us? That is saying that there's some number that when I raise it to the third power is equal to 2. We don't necessarily know what that number is. It's some kind of probably decimal, but there it is. Now to try to help us understand this idea of writing it using rational exponents, what I've done is I created this kind of multiple choice question just so that you guys could see some of the differences that we'll encounter as we move on through math. So it says, which of the following is not an equivalent expression to this term? Alright, so we're wondering which of these is not like the other. So if I follow this pattern here, okay, where the top of the fraction is the exponent and the bottom of the fraction is the index, alright, this one is definitely correct, right? So the top of the fraction is the exponent, the 3 here is the index. So this one's good. Now, one thing that's interesting here is these fractions do follow all of our fraction rules. Alright, so I can reduce this fraction, right? 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So if I do that and I divide them by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2, and 3 divided by 3 is 1. So x to the 2 over 1 is also an equivalent expression. Now, because these fractions also follow the fraction rules, this is a division problem, isn't it? This is saying 6 divided by 3. And 6 divided by 3 is 2, so this is x squared. Now this last one, this diamond, they flipped the fraction upside down, right? They called it a 1/2, which some kids do when they go to reduce it. So this is the incorrect one. So a lot of students, they get hung up because there's different forms of equivalent expressions. Okay, just remember these fractions follow the same fraction rules as you're used to, and that the top of the fraction is the exponent and the bottom of the fraction is the index. But there we go. That's how to write radicals using rational exponents. Until next time.